What's up, everybody? It's Matt from Peter Glenn. In this video, we're going to talk to you about goggle sizing and how to check to make sure these goggles actually fit your face right. Let's check this out. All right, so everybody looks at goggles and you realize like, oh, these are there to keep the snow out of my eyes, but they're also there to keep the sun out of your eyes. They're also there to help keep your face warm, up above your nose. You throw on a face mask, you got your helmet, your beanie, the goggles are gonna fill in that spot so you can actually stay warm completely head to toe. So it's a very, very important thing to have. All of the goggles do have good face foam on them, something that's really comfortable against your face, and then they'll have the little bit squishier foams, so when it does pull tight against your face, it's not creating any unusual pressure points. But in general, we do want those goggles to fit well, because if they don't fit well, they can't do their job and they can't keep the wind out and keep the sun out, and they're just not comfortable, and you don't want to be wearing them. So right off the bat, just because you have a small head doesn't mean you need a small goggle. And another thing where that's really kind of big is with kids goggles. A lot of times when you see kids goggles, those are very, very tiny. I think my daughter, by the time she was about 5 or 6, was out of kids goggles. Definitely a thing to keep in mind, that just because your kid is a younger, quote unquote kid, and we're talking even, again, in that 5 to 10 range, kids goggles, they might actually be too small for them. So definitely want to try these things on and make sure that you get good vision. The bigger the goggles, the more vision you have and the safer it is, and you're actually getting more protection. So if you do have a smaller head, it doesn't necessarily mean you need a small goggle. If you do have a smaller head and you grab a pair of goggles like these Anon M4s and you put them on and they're taking up the majority of your face, yeah, you probably should go with something a little bit smaller. But again, it's all about making sure that that goggle fits your face properly. So right off the bat, when you put a goggle on, they all have adjustable straps, so they'll fit with just your head all the way up to, you can adjust them all the way out. Quick little pull on those, and this goggle actually gets big enough so it'll stretch all the way around a helmet, but we're gonna keep it down a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop this thing on my head. So right off the bat, we obviously wanna make sure that when we put this thing on, that it feels comfortable. We wanna make sure that it's sealing off all the way around. Wherever there's foam, we wanna make sure that that's touching your face, on the top, on the sides, on the bottom. Most importantly, right here over the bridge of your nose. If you are somebody who has a low bridge nose, a lot of the companies do make a low bridge version, which basically has more foam to help fill in that space, right at the top of your nose. But again, having that all sealed off is very, very important, because that way it's going to keep the wind out, and it's also going to help keep the cold out, and it's going to help regulate the temperature inside the goggles, and it can actually help keep the goggles from fogging up as well. Then from there, we want to make sure that it's sitting right on our faces. And I'm actually going to switch over to this new Anon M5 just because it's a little easier to pop this lens out real quick. But when you do pop your goggles on, and as long as they do fit well, obviously we want that to be nice and comfortable. We want to have the seal, but we also need them to sit right on our faces. We all have different shaped faces. That's why we all look different. We have different size and shaped noses, cheekbones, foreheads, eyes. Our parts of our face are all in different parts of our head, so we got to make sure that the goggles are sitting right. And that's the one thing, is you could literally have on an Anon M5 or an Anon M4, and depending on your face, they could fit completely different. So it's all about finding that one goggle that actually sits on your face properly, and it's usually not too hard to find. But when this thing is on, we want to make sure that when it sits right, one, we want to make sure that it's not down too low, so it's sitting on our eyebrows. Also, this can push down on your nose and can be a little uncomfortable, and obviously make it a little harder to breathe. We also want to make sure that they're not sitting up too high, where our eyes are right down in the bottom of the goggle and they're touching our eyes. Most importantly, I don't want to see this part of the goggle. Yeah, I can't see any of this, which is good. We want to get that good vision for safety, real good peripheral vision, and also want that top to bottom. But when this thing sits right on our face, we want to see the least amount of frame possible. So again, if it seals off on your face, make sure that it's not touching the sides of your eyes. If it's touching the sides, it's probably too small. If it's touching the bottom here, it just has a shape that's not right, that's pushing you up. And obviously, if it's down too far on your face, it sits down too far, then maybe it's a little bit too big and you want it a little bit smaller, or even a little bit narrower. It doesn't even have to be smaller this way, it just could be smaller this way. So Definitely a very, very important thing to make sure that you are comfortable. And if these things are on your face, you don't want anything annoying you, because if you don't like it, you have to take the goggles off, and the goggles can't do their job when they're not on your head. So it's pretty simple, obviously, when you're getting goggles and you want to have, again, something that if you're spending a good amount of money on these things, they're gonna last you a long, long time. Out of all of your gear, goggles can definitely last you, as long as you take care of them, they can last you almost longer than most of your equipment. But again, if it doesn't fit right, you don't wanna be wearing it, and there's no sense in even having it, and it's not doing its job properly. But if you got any questions beyond anything that we talked about in the video, definitely leave some comments down below. We're on there every single day trying to answer your questions. We wanna make sure we can get you into some rad gear, but most importantly, we wanna make sure that it's actually gonna fit you, and it's gonna fit your riding style, and it's gonna fit your needs too. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and definitely get that bell on too so you can find out when all the new videos drop. And head on over to peterglenn.com. Grab yourself a pair of goggles, make sure they fit just right, and get out and ride, because any day of riding is a good day of riding.